The NFL is an ever-changing league, and if there's anything the 2022 NFL season has shown us through the first 6 weeks is exactly that. Some players have been underperforming relative to the expectations they had entering the year, and others have been outperforming even the wildest expectations they had less than 2 months ago. The NFL season has been unpredictable in a lot of ways early on, as I don't think there would have been anybody before week 1 started that would have said the Atlanta Falcons are tied for first place in the NFC South at this point. I also don't think anybody would have believed that the Seattle Seahawks would have a better record than the Denver Broncos, despite giving up former franchise quarterback Russell Wilson and have replaced him with Geno Smith, but here we are. This is the ultimate what have you done for me lately league, and in today's video, we are going to discuss two of the biggest winners and two of the biggest losers in the first 6 weeks of the year. And there is a lot to dive into in today's video, and without further ado, let's begin. And we are starting today's video with one of the biggest winners of the 2022 NFL season, and it is the New York Jets. As I record this, they are a 4-2 team, have the same record as the Patrick Mahomes-led Chiefs, and are a game out of first place in the AFC East. When they had 3 first-round picks in this year's draft and an early second-round pick in Breece Hall, the expectation was for them to make strides this year and to be a good team in the future. Well, the Jets must have missed that note because they are playing good football and in Week 6 walked away with not just a win over the Packers, but a dominating 27-10 win at Lambeau Field. And for a team in the Jets that hasn't made the playoffs in over a decade, this is a tremendous confidence builder for them to build on and to take away for the rest of the season. They started out 1-2 with losses to the Ravens and Bengals in weeks 1 and 3, but a 37-year-old Joe Flacco was starting for them in those games, and Flacco is very much a statue at this point in time, and obviously was never going to be the long-term guy. But this Jets team this year is different, and even with Flacco, they had a wild come-from-behind game against the Browns, and a game they were down 30-17 with less than 2 minutes to play. An Adam Gase-led Jets team would have folded and flew home from Cleveland with their tails tucked between their legs and with an 0-2 record. But they didn't, and that was also the game first-round rookie Garrett Wilson broke out as he had an 8-catch, 102-yard, 2-touchdown performance. And while Garrett hasn't had any great games since Zach Wilson has been back, weirdly, I only view this as a positive because the Jets are 3-0 in games since Zach Wilson came back, and he has not played good in any of those games, meaning they're not even close to maximizing what they can achieve offensively and are still winning games, 2 of which were by 17+ points. Breece Hall was my number 1 running back in the 2022 NFL Draft, and over the past 3 games, he has been killing it. He's had at least 17 carries in each of the last 3 games, and the Jets are 3-0. He's averaging over 5 yards per carry, and to show you how good he's been, if his last 3 games were translated to a full 17-game season, he would be on pace for over 1,500 yards and 17 touchdowns. The Jets also have a pretty good rookie corner, which of course is an understatement in Sauce Gardner. I don't think it's out of the equation for him to be a top 5 or 6 corner in the league by the end of the season. He is legit, and the Jets' 2022 draft was not just a home run that barely clears the fence. It was a grand slam. There's a legitimate chance they have the offensive and defensive rookie of the year on this team. And last but not least, Quinnen Williams has been killing it and has came into his own in year 4. They are a very good team, and their next 2 games are at Denver and home against the Patriots, both of which are winnable. From the biggest market in the NFL, we go to the smallest to discuss the Green Bay Packers. The Packers in 2022 have been in a lot of ways a disaster, and a quote from Aaron Rodgers this past week post-game summarizes their season. Rodgers said he wanted to simplify the offense, and head coach Matt LaFleur was asked about this and said, "I don't know what that means." What Rodgers meant is to make as simple of an offense for the young guys as possible, things like slants, screens, short plays that are easy to learn versus motions and things that generally slow the tempo down. but the Packers have been disappointing, and they are not just a quarterback and a head coach. The front office in some ways has failed Aaron Rodgers, and you knew at some point he would start to decline, and we are starting to see that. They had 2 first-round picks this past year, and at the time could have made a trade for someone like DK Metcalf or DJ Moore, or at minimum had these discussions. They opted for neither and went for a rookie receiver at the top of the second round in Christian Watson, who has 7 catches for 52 yards on the year, and sadly is best known for a dropped 75-yard touchdown in Minnesota back in Week 1. The Packers' disappointing 2022 season started back in April when they knew they were in a tight Super Bowl window and didn't go anywhere close to as aggressive after a playmaker as they should have. Could Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs become good players? Yes, absolutely. But that doesn't help them now when they're 2 games back in the division to the Minnesota Vikings, who beat them handedly back in Week 1, and most recently when they got their asses handed to them by the New York Jets. Their other loss was to the 5-1 New York Giants, who had a double-digit come-from-behind win against them across the pond. And let the record show, one of their wins was against the Bucs, who were without Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, which very much benefited the Packers in a game they nearly lost, and the Brian Hoyer, who eventually got hurt, then Bailey Zappi-led Patriots. The Packers are 3-3 by the absolute skin of their teeth and have not been playing good football. This was a team that entered the year with Super Bowl aspirations, and given they are 2 games back in the division and have lost back-to-back games, things are not looking good. And in an attempt to salvage their season, we may see them try and make a big trade or bring someone in like Odell Beckham. But make no mistake about it, from the play calling to the lack of execution and the underperformance of the team in general, the Packers have been a disappointing team in 2022. Back to the Big Apple we go to discuss the New York Football Giants. Heading into 2022, I thought this would be a season for them where they would take 1 step back to take 3 or 4 steps forward in 2023 and beyond. I love head coach Brian Daboll, but I honestly thought they would win 5 or 6 games, maybe 7 this year at the most. And the tone was set back in Week 1 when they went down to Nashville and beat the Titans. They started out 2-0 as they proceeded to beat Carolina in Week 2, and I was cautious with this team because I thought the Titans would regress, and the Panthers, well, guys, they're not good. I eventually bought in when they came from behind against the Packers, when they could have easily folded down 2 scores in London, and then most recently beat the Ravens in a stunner. They forced Lamar Jackson to throw an interception late and to eventually fumble the football, which were critical for the Giants' win in Week 6. Their next 4 games are at the Jags, at the Seahawks, home against the Texans and Lions, and sure, they may not win all 4 of these, but I'd be extremely surprised if they don't win 3 of these 4 and start out 8-2 through 10 games. And what's even better about this for the Giants and Daniel Jones is he's been solid without great receivers. We talk about NFL draft busts a lot, but free agent busts are something else. But that's exactly what Kenny Golladay has been since signing with the Giants. A bust. It certainly didn't help DJ when Sterling Shepard had a season-ending injury, and 2021 first-round pick Kadarius Toney has played in 2 games all year. The Giants' top 3 receivers in a win over the Ravens were rookie tight end Daniel Bellinger, rookie Wan'Dale Robinson, and former undrafted free agent Marcus Johnson, who has played on 6 teams in 6 years. This team is 5-1 through all of this, and I thought Brian Daboll would be a good head coach in the long run, but I didn't think he would have this success this early, especially factoring everything that's happened to them so far. Andrew Thomas is an absolute stud of a left tackle, and Wink Martindale has the defense playing phenomenal. The most points they've given up in a game is 22, and for an offense, especially at the receiver position that's banged up, the defense has had to step up, and they have in big, big ways. And through 6 weeks, the Giants are huge winners. Next up is the Denver Broncos, and this one is pretty obvious. What's particularly frustrating about the Broncos is how good the defense is playing, yet how little they have to show for it. As we know, Russell Wilson has been a disaster, and they aren't one of the biggest losers of the season so far because they're playing bad. They're one of the biggest losers of the 2022 NFL season because of the locker room standpoint. The defense doesn't believe in Russ, and in a lot of ways, I'm sure they feel like, great, let's go hold another team to 12 or 15, or in Monday night's case, 19 points, and we lose as a team because this character we traded for, who gets ripped on social media every single day, can't put up 20 points. This is a very 2022 Broncos statistic, but in Week 6, Justin Herbert's 57 passing attempts were the most in a winning effort without a passing touchdown in NFL history. That is unacceptable. There's no, well, yeah, but, or there's no, well, this happened. No, there's no excuse. The Broncos have been a nightmare, and both Russell Wilson and head coach Nathaniel Hackett are largely at fault here. Through 6 weeks, they've given up the 4th fewest points in the NFL and are tied with the Texans, who had a bye week, so really the Broncos have given up the 4th fewest, and the other 3 teams ahead of them are the Bills, 49ers, and Cowboys. Teams we could very easily see make deep postseason runs. They give up the 2nd fewest yards per play defensively and are the only team to allow just 3 passing touchdowns in 6 games. Their defense is getting disrespected by the offense, who simply can't put up points. And it's an embarrassment this team is 2-4. Other teams that could have made today's video from the winner's side include, but not limited to, the Dallas Cowboys, Philadelphia Eagles, and the Minnesota Vikings, and some of the other biggest losers, again, could have, but not limited to, include the Cleveland Browns, Arizona Cardinals, and Las Vegas Raiders. That's all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like the video and subscribe to the channel as well as the second channel. The link is in the description, and until next time, as always, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.